What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Thoughts with Nick. It's been a minute, but I'm back, and as usual, we're going to start with a quote. Today's quote comes from Socrates, and since I've quoted him before, I'm going to skip his introduction, but just to give him a brief one anyway. He's a famous Greek philosopher, and what he had to say that I'm going to quote this time is Man is by nature a social animal. And there's more to his quote than that, but I'm just going to cut it right there because that's pretty much exactly what I want to talk about today. So, nowadays, I feel like a lot of people struggle with loneliness and lack of social connection, and it's tough. It's a tough place to be. It sucks to feel that way, and I feel like it's all too common anymore. And at certain points, I've kind of found myself in that situation, so I feel like I'm kind of qualified to speak on it. And there's a couple different things that I want to talk about today specifically. My main point is going to be social connection, but I kind of want to break it down into two different things. So first, I'm going to talk about what I like to call the stories that we tell ourselves or personal narratives. And then after that, I'm going to get into social media and not like a deep dive, but just how I kind of feel like that's undermining social connection today. So, like I said, I'm going to start with the stories that we tell ourselves. And what I mean by that is we all have these, like a perception of ourselves, so to speak, right? Like how you imagine yourself. And it changes over time. It can be influenced by events, things that happen to you, things that other people say. Somebody can tell you something, and then that becomes integrated into your belief about yourself, whether or not it's true. You value this person, their opinion, and they make a comment on you, and you internalize that, and now that becomes part of the story that you tell yourself. So, like, an example of this could be, um, well, I don't know, something to go regarding the topic today, I guess, is social anxiety. You could have a belief or something that you tell yourself, for example, that becomes a belief, that you don't do well in social settings, that you're uncomfortable around other people. And that doesn't have to be true. It's true because you believe it about yourself, right? If you chose to believe something else, if you chose to believe that you do great and excel in social settings, you can converse with anyone, anytime, anywhere, and you're comfortable with that, then sure enough, you're going to be. It's just a matter of, I guess, the amount of time you spend with that narrative, right? So if you spend a lot of time believing that you don't do well in social settings and you have a hard time interacting and connecting with other people, then that's going to manifest itself in reality. And in those settings, they're not going to go the way you want them to, or they're going to go the way that you expect them to, rather. So if you think what I just described, then sure enough, probably you're going to experience a lot of awkwardness and uncomfort and be uncomfortable in social settings. But on the flip side, if you tell yourself, I'm good, like I'm cool, I'm comfortable here, there's nothing to worry about, because there really is nothing to worry about, then you're gonna be cool. And even if it is awkward, you're gonna be able to laugh off the awkwardness because you know it's nothing to worry about. And I think those stories that we tell ourselves, it's an internal thing. It's not necessarily like an active thought. It's just these beliefs. So the basis of my point there, right, was that the longer you sit with that belief, the more examples it has to present itself, if that makes sense. The more instances that it's proved true through your experience, so to speak. That doesn't necessarily mean it's true. It's If it's something bad, I mean, you can just as easily overwrite it. But my point being, the belief begins to solidify itself based on your experiences. So your belief gains strength through the experiences that back it up, right? So all those negative social interactions, they give credibility to your belief that you don't do well in social settings, and that compounds that thought until it becomes a part of your reality, and it becomes a part of the narrative of your life. And that's pretty problematic, right? And like I said, I mean, you can overwrite it. It's not an easy thing to do, easier said than done, because you are going to need those positive experiences to flip the narrative, so to speak. um and I think that's something that a lot of people find themselves in, like in this place where their life is influenced in a negative way by stories that they tell themselves and things that they've allowed themselves to believe about themselves, whether or not it's actually true, right? And like a great example of this, and like it's not the best thing, but I'm just gonna be honest about it. It's coming from my own life, you know. I go to the gym a lot, and there's plenty of other people that I see there on a daily basis, other regulars like myself, and a lot of them talk, you know, they're friendly with each other. They're friends, right? Friends within the gym. And you know, I have my friends in the gym, people that I've known from school or people, you know, whatever, people that I was already friends with prior to the gym. And for a while, I kind of allowed myself to believe this narrative, just like a made up story in my head, right? That because I was a regular, but I wasn't necessarily a part of the regular crew, right? Like they'd all say hi and associate with each other, but I wasn't a part of that. I allowed myself to believe that for some reason maybe they don't like me, so that's why they don't interact with me. And I internalized that, and it kind of like hurt my feelings, I guess, and it made me feel a way about myself. And then one day, you know, I was just like, I'm gonna say what's up. You know, like these people are cool, and I didn't say like what's up to all of them at the same time. No, I started small. There's a couple people that seemed approachable, and you know, like just make small talk. Like, oh, what are you hitting today? I see you in here all the time. Simple stuff like that. Like asking for advice, but like genuine, like things that I actually had questions about, not trying to create a fake conversation. Like genuine questions of why why do you do this exercise this way? You know, I have genuine curiosity. And sure enough, now these are people that I talk to on a regular basis. There's nothing awkward or uncomfortable about it. You know, it could be as simple as a quick hi and bye, but just acknowledging their presence and them acknowledging mine. And the only barrier to me doing that in the past was the narrative, my own personal narrative, the story that I allowed myself to believe about myself, that for some reason maybe these people don't like me. And there was absolutely no credibility behind that. There was no basis in reality. It was entirely fictitious, and it held me back from potential social connections. And it was all up here, totally made up, nothing real about it. And despite that, I allowed myself to believe it for a while, you know, not like a crazy long time, right? But I had to go and take action and, you know, put out my hand. And and there was other people ready to shake my hand, right? Maybe not the best analogy, but and that's what I think, right? That's what I think about a lot of things. If you are to extend that hand, if you extend your reach, a lot of times there's going to be another hand waiting to grasp yours and form that social connection, right? Other people, how you feel and how you may feel lonely or feel uncomfortable or whatever, there's plenty of other people that feel the exact same way. And if you're willing to extend your hand and just try and establish that connection, I think a lot of times you're going to find that the person on the receiving end wants that connection just as much as you do, and they feel the same way, and the social connection is just as important to them, just as necessary to them as it is to you. And I think it's really important that we try to try to destroy these negative stories that we tell ourselves, and you have to do that through positive reinforcement. You can tell yourself something positive unlimited number of times, but until you start to accumulate those positive experiences to back up that belief, it's hard to actually internalize it. And I don't know, it's just like what I describe it, there's all those times where I didn't say anything to these people, and it's just kind of like ingrained that belief further and further. But now I talk to them, and like it's all good. It's totally regular, and I don't want to like kind of focus on just that one example, but I do feel like it's a powerful example of how I was holding myself back from potentially finding more friends or just like talking to people, you know, like that's such an important thing. And I feel like that's something that is just kind of lost today. Like you walk past people, you don't even acknowledge them. And what's up with that? That's the opposite of normal to me. Like why you're not even going to acknowledge the presence of another individual when you pass them on the street? Like what? I've done that. I mean, I still do that. I'm not saying I'm above that now. Like, no, I still do that sometimes. I'm no better than anybody else, but that doesn't make it right. A lot of times, if I do that, I'll think like, man, that was. Why didn't I at least give him a nod or something, or just say hi? You don't have to stop and strike up a whole conversation, but a simple acknowledgement of another person's existence goes a long way, not just for them, but for yourself too. And I don't know. I think that's something that is important to like sit with and think about for a little bit. Just how the acknowledgement of another person's existence benefits both you and them, and just how social connection it goes both ways, and how people are really, whether or not they're the ones reaching out for it, a lot of times people are like fiending for it, so to speak. It's coveted, it's highly desired, it's highly sought after, but a lot of people are scared to put themselves out there and take that initiative, take the first step. And I know it's scary, but you got to do it. You got to do it, even if it seems like other people might not be receptive to it. You know, maybe sometimes they won't be, but a lot of times I genuinely think that they will, and I really believe that a lot of people want that connection just as much as you do. And it's hard to overwrite those stories that you've told yourself for a long time. Like, trust me, I know, but it's well worth it. And like I said, it doesn't have to be some deep, long conversation. Like another example from from my life from recently, this is super trivial, but it means something. Um, I was walking around at the lake and there was a dude fishing, and instead of just walking past him and ignoring him, I stopped just for a quick second and said, "Hey, man, you catch anything today?" And we just had a brief chat, and he stayed fishing and I went on my way. I didn't get his name. It's not like we're friends. It's just a simple interaction like that, but that small social interaction is meaningful because you acknowledge someone else's presence. You express interest in what they're doing. Like, you don't have to do that if you're not curious, but if the curiosity strikes you, why not ask them? Why, you know what I mean? Why, if you have a question, or even paying a compliment, right? Like, you see someone in a jacket that you like, why would you feel awkward about giving them a compliment? You would feel really good if someone paid you a compliment, so why not give that feeling to somebody else? And when you see the smile on their face when they hear your compliment, it's going to make you feel better too. I'm not saying like go out of the way to give people compliments so that you feel better about yourself. That's not what this is about. It's about being genuine, being real, being present in the moment, and trying to establish connections with other people because they want it just as much as you do. And I kind of hit on something important right there, which is don't force it. This isn't about forcing things. It's simply about trying. That's all it comes down to. Just like I talked about before in the importance of trying, this is just another application of that, another direction, this time applied in the social setting. And like I kind of started this video off with, I think we're in a loneliness epidemic right now, and there's only one cure for that, which is the social connection, meeting people, and establishing common ground between them and yourself. And from there, hopefully forming a friendship. And if it doesn't lead to that, whatever, you tried, and you can feel better knowing that you tried, and you don't have to live with the possibility of what if that person could have become my friend, what if there was some underlying interest or curiosity that we both have that we could discuss and explore together, what if their passion is also my passion, stuff like that if you don't ask you'll never know. And what's the harm in asking? What's the harm in trying to find a new friend? Like, this is something that I think about. And if you're anything like me, you might think about it too, or maybe you were just like this in your past. I think this is a pretty common past scenario. Like, when I was a kid, there was no social anxiety for me. There was no inhibition. I could be at the beach for just a day with my family. Like, I know I'm not gonna see these other kids again, but I'm gonna have like five friends that I'm chilling with all day long, going in the water, building sandcastles. Just because I went up and say, "Hey, you want to be my friend? Hey, you want to go swimming with me? Hey, you want to do this, that, what would I lose if they said no? I wouldn't lose anything. I'd keep walking down the beach and find the next kid that looked like they were about my age and say the exact same thing. What's stopping us from doing that as adults? What's stopping us from doing that as teenagers? What's stopping us from doing that anymore now that we're not kids? Absolutely nothing. We have all this perceived social anxiety and this, I guess you could say, fear about interacting with others, this fear of rejection. That's really what it comes down to, is the fear that if you extend your hand, you're gonna get denied, and that fucking hurts. Like, there's no two ways about it. It hurts when you go and extend that hand and it gets rejected. Like, that's not a good feeling. And like I said, sometimes it's gonna come down to that. But why does that have to be so overwhelming and overbearing? Such an overarching underlying fear and angst that you're so afraid of the rejection that you can't even take the first step. That's not how life should be. I mean, I want to say that again, and I want you to actually stop and think about it. Why should the fear of rejection have to be so overwhelming and underlying that it inhibits you and prevents you from even taking the first step? You're living in a state controlled by fear. Come on, we got to get out of that. We got to get out of it. You can't let your existence be dominated by the fear of rejection or fear in general. I get it. It's like I said, it hurts. Like I've had a couple instances where like I've said what's up to people. Going back to my example, we'll just go back to my default example that I use all the time. But like I've had times where I've tried to strike up a conversation with people at the gym, and it didn't pan out, right? And I still see them, and we don't really talk, and it's not it's not how I wanted it to go, right? But that's just one out of so many examples, and that's that's gonna be like, I'm telling you, that's going to be the minority of examples. The majority of the time, you're going to find that the other person wants to talk to you just as much, and chances are they're experiencing that fear of rejection too, that might be holding them back from saying something to you. I don't know. I think a lot of times, especially with this social stuff, like we're all kind of experiencing the same thing. We all have kind of an under, not all, I don't want to use a super broad generalization, but a lot of people experience that same fear of rejection, and it holds a lot of people back from doing or saying the things that they want to do or say. And that's just not a place you want to be in. It's not, like I said already, that's not how life should be, and it's not how life has to be. So why not try? Why not try to revert to almost like that childlike state, so to speak, for lack of a better example, and get away from that fear, get away from that anxiety, because it doesn't need to be there. It doesn't need to exist. You can overwrite it and you can get rid of it through positive experiences. And I know it's hard. I mean, trust me, like it wasn't the easiest thing for me to get out of my shell and get out of my comfort zone and have those interactions. And I know like the gym is just a small example, and it's my example that I use a lot because it's something that, like I kind of view it as a microcosm for a lot of other things. But what's I feel like you have so much to gain and so little to lose from actually trying to connect with other people in whatever setting. Like, I don't know. I just think that, like Socrates said, we're social animals. And we're all, once again, I don't want to be super broad with my generalizations, but I think for the most part, we're all craving the social connection and interactions with others. And living in isolated existence is not, that doesn't suit us. Like, going back again to what Socrates said, we're social animals by nature. So being totally isolated, like, it doesn't suit us at all. And I mean, not to like get into this, but I think if you think about the past, COVID was a great example of that, of how much everyone was negatively affected by the isolation that occurred, and I'm not going to really get into it any further than that, but I'm sure you can think of just like, I don't know, just think of how it affected you in a negative way, that isolation. And I'm sure you'll realize there's some truth to what I'm saying. And once again, that corroborates Socrates' point that we are social animals, right? Isolation was harmful during that period. And I'm not going to harp on it, but I do think it lends itself well, and it's an experience that we can all relate to because we all went through it together. That kind of proves my point. It really does. So yeah, that's that's really kind of the basis of the first part of what I wanted to talk about, of just the stories that we tell ourselves and how they can inhibit our potential social connections. You build up a narrative, a story about yourself, a picture about yourself, and you come to believe it. It's how you know yourself. And if you know yourself as someone who's antisocial or awkward, what's going to happen in real life? It's going to come to fruition. And it's hard to overwrite that, but you have the power to do it through conscious thought and conscious action. And I really think that you'll be proud of yourself and you'll be happy with yourself and the life that you live if you try and cultivate those experiences and put yourself out there and embrace rejection, right? Don't be afraid of it. Don't run from it. Wrap your arms around it and fucking smother it. Smother rejection to death, right? Don't let it control you. Don't let it rule your life. Eliminate that fear. Don't live your life in a place of fear. There's absolutely no reason to. And if people reject you, like, who fucking cares? Seriously. Laugh it off. You got to just laugh it off and keep it moving. That's really what it comes down to. So now, having said that, I kind of want to pivot into the social media aspect, and this is kind of just like a not the basis of what I want to talk about today. I do want to have another video, ideally with a couple other people actually, regarding social media and technology in general and all that kind of stuff, and just kind of play both sides, play the pros and cons of whatever. But that's for another day. Um, what I want to talk about today regarding social media is how it's like a diet version of social connection. Like we all we all engage with social. Well, once again, I don't want to be too broad with my generalizations because even myself, like I try hard not to spend too much time on social media, but I still do sometimes. And I think most people spend time on social media, and you hear the first word in social media, social. But is it really social? Think about it. Is it really social? No, it's not. It's not really social. It's fake. It's pseudo. It's not really social. Think about it. Really. What are you doing on there? You talking to people? Not really. You're seeing some random fucking memes and stuff. Like you're if you're like me, you're probably seeing some sports stuff. And from time to time there's a post from a friend or somebody that you know, and you drop them a like, you maybe drop them a comment, and you feel like a diet version of an interaction. That's like a pseudo interaction. It's not a real interaction. You feel like you maybe interacted with that person because you saw pictures of them and you left a reply, but that's not really anything. Let's be honest. There's no eye contact. There's no facial reactions. You don't hear their voice. They don't hear your voice. There's no body language. There's no social cues. None of that stuff is there. So how is that social? Seriously, how? You can't answer that question. Or at least I can't. Maybe you can. I don't find it to be social. Even DMs, right? Like you're sending someone something. I don't find that to be too social. Like you might send the laughing emoji back, but did you really laugh? Most times the answer is no. I don't know. I just that's kind of like something I've been thinking about in regards to this social connection issue. Like it's a loneliness epidemic, but we spend so much time on social media, but it's not really social. But we think we're being social because it's disguised, it's wrapped up that way, and it's called social media. And we have interactions with other people. So on a certain level, we do think that we're being social, but it's false. And I think Instagram is kind of a great example of that. And I'm not gonna like dive too deeply into it, but just how it's such like a fake environment. Like people, including myself, like I hardly ever post, but when I do, it's some cool shit I was doing. And that's what it is for the most part. People show their highlights, but it's not raw, it's not real, it's not life. It's just like some it's the peaks. It's never the valleys. It's never even the plateaus. It's for most people anyway. There's people out there who like shit post or whatever and just throw most of their stuff on there. And I think there's something cool about that. Like that's real. there's a level of honesty there and transparency that's not present in a lot of other um, accounts. And I'm not saying there's anything that's inherently right or wrong with either way. Like, I'm not here to make judgment calls or put people into different groups based on their actions. That's not what I'm doing here at all. That's never what this channel is going to be about. But I do kind of want to bring to light just what I already said. You know, how people, they just post their highlights, and that's kind of like inherently not not genuine, I guess. And going again, like, nothing wrong with that. Like, that's kind of the culture that Instagram has cultivated, so to speak. A fake um, best of the best type environment, so that people think your life is perfect. I don't know. I'm getting a little derailed. But my point, I guess, was that, like, in real life, it's real. You know, like, even if someone tells you a lie, if you're perceptive enough, chances are you're probably gonna pick up that what they're saying is not the truth. You know, like, stuff like that. It can be really difficult to tell through social media or even texting, for example. Like, it's so difficult to pick up on sarcasm sometimes, and that's just like, that would be obvious face to face. And I don't know. I just think technology and social media a lot of times, like, it gives us the ability to be closer to one another in the sense that you're always available, right? Like, someone, I got my phone in my pocket right now. I could receive a phone call at any given second, and I'm always on. I'm always reachable, but that doesn't necessarily make me more social, does it? I don't think so. I don't know. Something to think about, right? Like, does does being always available make you inherently more social? My answer is no. Your answer might be yes, and that's fine. Um, but yeah, I don't know. That was social media. I think it's pretty problematic, but kind of the basis of my point regarding the social connection is that it gives you like a diet version of that connection. So you kind of feel like you're getting something when you interact with someone's post. Maybe you don't. I actually, I don't feel like I'm getting anything. But it's the perception, right? It's the perception of a social connection. It's perceived, but it's never actualized. Compared to an actual conversation, it's actualized in that very moment. It's it is reality. It is real, and there's no two ways about it. Versus social media, it's very abstract, and you might feel like you're connecting with people and they're connecting with you, but I don't feel like it's going to bring that underlying sense of fulfillment that an actual conversation would have or an actual face to face interaction would have. I think, I don't know. I just think a lot of people, and once again, like, not good or bad, but I think people struggle with uh, communication and talking to other people, and a lot of times it's kind of like propagated by stuff that they see on social media and different stuff like that. Like, it further instills beliefs that they already have. You know what I mean? By things like the algorithm, right? It's not inherently bad, but it cultivates more of what you choose to view. So it's going to accentuate your already existing biases. And obviously, I'm not immune to this. No one is. It's just that's how the algorithm functions. I don't know. I think social media can be a pretty isolating thing, and it can make you feel really kind of like unhappy with yourself and your place and your standing, because you see other people doing things and it's not what you're doing in the present moment. So it makes you get a little FOMO, right? A little fear of missing out. But anyway, the social media shit, I'm derailing my conversation. Ah, that was not where I wanted to go today, but I'll touch more on that another day in a longer conversation. But I think you kind of get the basis of what I'm trying to say, which is that social media, it might not have been designed as like a distraction or a trap, but it's inherently antisocial, and it's kind of um, eating away at actual social connection by giving like a light or a diet version of that. And since I keep getting derailed when I try and talk more and more about social media, I'm just going to leave it at that statement. Social media is a dietized version of social connection that doesn't really give you anything. You don't really get anything out of it, but you may have a slight perception that you're being social. So I'm gonna say it like this actually. I just thought of something that I think is kind of good, kind of cool actually. Think of being social as a vitamin. Like sunlight maybe, something like that even. You know, you need it, right? And then so think of social media as light bulbs inside your house. That's not giving you the vitamins you need from the sun. You're not it's simply not. So if you think of being social as a vitamin that you need to have like the most healthy, best thriving existence, then think of social connection as the sun and social media as those light bulbs indoors. That was a good analogy. I'm proud of that. Let's go. Oh man. But yeah, just something to think about. You know, social media is like the light bulbs inside your house, whereas real social connection is like the sun. You need to spend some time outside. You need to get some sunlight. You need to get some social connection. You need to talk to other people and get outside of your shell. We need to destroy these narratives that we tell ourselves, and we need to build up some positive ones based on good examples and based on being the person that you want to be. How are you going to be the person that you want to be if you don't simply be that person? Kind of crazy, right? A little abstract, but how are you going to get there if you never take the first step? How are you going to be your best self if you don't act like your best self? Once again, kind of a conversation for another day, but it relates back to what I was saying before about the stories that we tell ourselves. If you tell yourself that you're not a social person, then inherently you're going to believe it and it's going to come to fruition in your everyday life. If you tell yourself that there's nothing to worry about, there's nothing to make you feel uncomfortable, there's nothing to feel awkward about, then you're going to have no problem talking to random strangers and then moving along with your day. And chances are it's going to brighten your day and it's going to brighten their day too. And that's kind of I guess what I want to leave you guys with today. Think about how you feel when you have a good interaction with someone. Think about how you feel when someone pays you a compliment about like someone tells you that they like your shirt, right? And you were happy to put on that shirt today because you like the shirt too. Now someone else just also gave you that positive feedback on something you already felt good about. Man, you're feeling good now, right? I don't know. Likewise, the other way, like you pay someone a compliment. Now they're feeling pretty good about themselves, and you're feeling good because you put a smile on their face. And like I said, that's kind of what I want to leave you guys with today. Like the positive ripple effect, right? The positive outpouring from social connection is major. It really can't be understated, and there's gonna be handful of examples, unfortunately, where you do face that rejection, and it's gonna suck. I'm not gonna say it's not. There's no reason to try and downplay how it feels to reach your hand out and have it get slapped away. Like some people just aren't gonna be receptive, and that's not a reflection on you. If you go back to the mirror of judgment or judgment is a mirror, I forget what I titled it, but if you go back and listen to that, then you'll understand that their reaction to you is not a reflection of you, but a reflection of themselves. And once again, not a commentary, not a judgment, just a real raw statement right there. And that's why you shouldn't feel bad about yourself. You shouldn't let it hurt your self image and your perception of yourself. If you do experience that rejection, it says more about the other person than it does about you. And that's at a fundamental level what it comes down to. And I don't know. I just think that today a lot of things could be better if we simply talked face to face and got out of our own heads, got off of our phones, and just got out there and simply said, "What's up?" Just, "What's up, man? How are you doing today?" "I'm not doing great." "Oh, dude, what's wrong?" And empathy, connection. You could make someone's day better, and somebody could make yours better if you allow that possibility to be on the table. I'm not saying it's definitely going to happen, but I can say it's definitely not going to happen if you don't even try. And that's what I want to leave you with today. Just give it a try, and I promise you'll see some results that you want to see in time. It's not going to be immediate. It's never going to be immediate, and it's never going to be perfect. All you got to do is try. Have some confidence in yourself, have some belief in yourself and your abilities. You're a good person. People want to be friends with you. You got a lot more that you bring to the table than you give yourself credit for. And you'll see that in a social setting if you simply give yourself the opportunity to get out of your own head and just stop worrying. Even if you do put your foot in your mouth, so what? Everyone does that. Whatever. Doesn't matter. Don't stay up all night thinking about that stupid thing you said. Let it go. Laugh about it. It's funny. Chances are the other person probably didn't even think about it after it left your mouth. It is what it was, right? Like it's over and done with. And here you are still worrying about it and letting it contribute to your fear of rejection and fear of awkwardness when in reality it was absolutely nothing. Absolutely nothing. So I know I keep saying that's what I want to leave you with, but I am going to actually give my final parting message for today's video. Get out there, try and talk to people. Every interaction's not going to go the way you want it to. I put my foot in my mouth all the time. And what do? I laugh it off and I keep it moving. And that's what you should do too. It's not always going to be perfect. It's not always going to be amazing. But if you give it a shot, if you put yourself out there, you're probably going to end up meeting some people with some really cool stories, some people that have a lot of stuff in common with you, some people that, if you're lucky, they might become lifelong friends. And who knows where you're going to find them. All that I know is that you're not going to find them if you don't look, and that's really what I have to say today. So this was a little longer one. Once again, I'm happy I went freestyle, no script, no nothing outside of that quote. I was able to give you guys a little over 30 minutes, almost 40 actually this time. So if you stayed, if you listened to the whole thing, thank you for your time. I know sometimes when I go off the dome like this, I do get a little repetitive, but yeah, thank you guys for tuning in. Let's destroy those negative stories that we tell ourselves and let's start to build up some positive examples going forward in life. You can do it, I can do it, we can all do it. So let's go ahead and do it. Let's become that version of ourselves that we want to be, one day at a time, one step at a time, one conversation at a time. Humans are social creatures, humans are social animals, rather. Thank you, Socrates. So why not go ahead and embrace your true nature? Other people are just as eager and just as willing as you. So let's get out there and do it. Thanks, guys.